Hi guys, and welcome to the first ever About Us Higher Self podcast. If you are here right now, I'm guessing you know me from Instagram or TikTok, where I share a lot of manifestation content, spirituality, personal development. So welcome to the first ever podcast, where we're going to be getting into all of that in this podcast. Stepping onto your highest timeline, stepping into your highest version, manifesting all of your desires into your reality, feminine energy. We are going to be really diving into all of that in this podcast. But in today's podcast, we are going to be getting a little bit more authentic, getting a little bit more real. I'm basically just channeling this message today because I've been wanting to start this podcast for a while. I didn't know where to start. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect all the time. But today I just had this inspired action to share this episode with you guys and just be real, because I've been kind of going through it lately, and I just wanted to share this episode in case anybody else is going through the same thing as me. Again, I just felt really inspired to make this today. I just felt like being raw and authentic and talking about the parts of spirituality that sort of get brushed over a little bit. You know, we're having a human experience. Things aren't always going to be perfect. Things aren't always going to be beautiful. You're not always going to be high vibrational. And that is okay because it's part of the journey. So these lower parts in your life, they're part of your growth. The universe doesn't see things as good or bad. The universe only sees things as things that will help you on your journey, things that will help you grow and evolve and ultimately get you on your path, get you to align with your purpose. You know, the universe isn't out to get you. The world isn't out to get you. You're having a human experience, and these negative emotions are going to come up. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So like I said, I've been sort of going through it lately. I don't know what is in the energy right now, what's in the air, but I feel like a lot of people are feeling this way as well. I feel like there's some sort of collective energy that is just pushing us into our next level, forcing us to deal with a lot of the negative emotions that maybe we've been suppressing, maybe we've been trying to numb down or escape. And right now we're just being really called to deal with all of that shit so that we can clear it. And I'm not an astrologer, but I pick up on energies really easily. And other people I've spoken to are saying they've been feeling a little weird lately, like just this weird energy. And so if that is you as well, you're in the right place. We're gonna go into that darker part of the spiritual journey and the manifestation journey that not a lot of people really like to talk about. A lot of people just like to, say it's all love and light and really brush over these parts. And I know that I myself talk a lot about, becoming your highest self and stepping onto your highest timeline, aligning your identity to the version of you that you want to become. But honestly, that comes with dealing with your current emotions, releasing a lot of your old baggage. And I talk a lot about this in my course. We go into more of the inner work that comes with this manifestation process. But ultimately, these things that we deem as bad, these negative emotions that come up, they're ultimately serving you. They're ultimately helping you get to that highest timeline. So yes, it's good to act like your highest version, and when you can, consciously try to embody the version of you who is on your highest timeline, but never suppress your negative emotions. If the universe is triggering a lot of negative emotions in you, allow yourself to feel them. Don't try to escape them. Don't try to numb them down, because when you try to numb these things down, you will end up living a numb experience, because you can only experience immense happiness, immense joy, when you allow yourself to feel immense pain, immense sadness. This is the law of duality. You can't have the light without having the darkness. You can't feel that light in your life, live in that light, without first going through the darkness. So the spiritual journey isn't always going to be highs. It's not always going to be embodying your highest version. You're going to have those lows as well. And those lows are really going to push you into your next version. They're going to push you into greater things. They're going to help you experience so many more beautiful things in your reality, Because again, if you are just numb in your life, if you are just constantly escaping your reality, constantly consuming, constantly doing something to distract yourself from what you're feeling, then you are just going to be numb. Those emotions are going to live inside you. They're going to be trapped in your body. And because you're not dealing with them, you're blocking yourself from all of those beautiful experiences, because the breakthrough always happens after the breakdown. Every single time I went through a major glow up in my life, I massively up-leveled my life. It always came before this period of sadness, of processing old emotions. And it's always that point that I decide that I don't want to live a numb experience anymore. I don't want to keep pushing down all of these things that the universe is bringing up for a reason, so that I can process them and release them. It's always that point where I just surrender to whatever I'm feeling and allow myself to just go through it, allow myself to feel it, so then I can release it and step into that next level for me. Whenever I have a big manifestation that I'm trying to manifest, I always have things like this coming up for me. The last time that I was in this place, I was trying to manifest love, and the universe kept triggering all of these old wounds for me. And at this point in my life, I thought that I'd already healed from all of these old wounds. I'd been working on my self-concept. I'd been working on healing my self-worth. But yet, you can't really release these things until you fully feel them. So the universe provided me with an external experience to trigger me into those old feelings. So right before everything in my life massively changed and I quit my job and I went solo traveling, I actually attracted 2 guys back to back who both hurt me in some way. And this really triggered a lot of these old emotions to come up. I remember I was doing breath work at least once a week just so that I could allow myself to feel these emotions and allow them to just be present and sit with them. And by doing that, I actually released them. And I actually started to program a new story into my body, because when these emotions are coming up and you learn to transmute them in the moment, you learn to say, I didn't deserve this, I didn't deserve to be treated that way. You're practicing something called energy transmutation. It's taking one form of energy and transmuting it into something different. So because I was allowing myself to feel all of those negative emotions, for me, it was feelings of unworthiness, feelings of not feeling like I deserved love. And then in that moment, deciding that it wasn't going to be that way, that it didn't have to be that way, and allowing myself to consciously change the story, I programmed a new energy into my body. And from that moment on, the people that I attracted massively changed. I started to notice that people were treating me differently. I started to repel those guys that weren't treating me the way I wanted to be treated, because sometimes rejection is just the universe protecting you. So ultimately, these negative emotions that we feel, they're there for a reason, and they're part of the spiritual journey. They're going to help you get to where you want to go if you allow yourself to surrender to them, if you allow yourself to feel them. And this can be many different ways. This can be allowing yourself to cry, to scream, to move it out of your body through somatic healing practices like breath work or dancing, allowing that energy to come up so that you can consciously shift it. So if you're feeling these negative emotions in your life, that's actually a good sign. It means that the universe is pushing you into your next level. It means that things are about to change. It's so much better to deal with your negative emotions and go through that dark period in your life in order to feel all of the joy, in order to attract beautiful things into your reality, than to consistently stay numb in your life and consistently keep pushing down all of the things that you just don't want to deal with. Because I have always been the type of person who always wanted to escape my negative emotions. I always did this through watching shows or going on social media or just distracting myself in some way, instead of just sitting with these emotions and allowing myself to process them. This is the reason that so many people feel stagnant in their life, how so many people feel stuck. It's because they have these negative emotions that are actually trapped in their body. that they haven't allowed themselves to release. And because they still have these negative emotions and these limiting beliefs, this low self-worth, that is controlling their life. And because they're not dealing with it, they're just staying in the same place. We cannot grow and we cannot evolve without dealing with our negative emotions, without having these negative experiences come up. Because the universe is doing you a favor when the universe sends something bad your way. When something just blows up in your face, you get dumped, you lose your friend group, you get fired. That is the universe triggering something into you. That is the universe serving you in some way. Maybe that relationship wasn't meant to work out. Maybe you're not meant to work at that job. Maybe your friends are just holding you down. Whenever there's a negative experience in your life, there's always a reason. It's not because the universe is against you. The universe is actually working in your favor. In fact, you are the universe, so you can never be against yourself. It is always your perspective and your view on reality that creates your future. So if you choose to become the victim to your circumstances, you choose to just brush away your negative emotions and numb it down, you're gonna keep creating the same circumstances in your life. I feel like I just went off on like a random tangent, but basically the things that are going wrong in your life, the things that you perceive as bad, they're not always bad because the universe doesn't see things as good or bad. You need these lower points to push you into that next level. And on the other side is everything that you've been calling in. It's your manifestation. It's that life that you've been dreaming of. But you can't get there if you do not process what's currently coming up for you. And the more that you want to change, the more that you want to step into that new version of yourself, the more that your shadows are going to come up, the more you're going to have to deal with the things that you didn't want to look at, the things that you've just been brushing away. So it is okay if you feel like absolute crap right now. It's okay if all you want to do is just lay in bed and cry. It's okay if you want to scream, because you're purging out all of those negative emotions. You're purging out a lot of traumas, a lot of old baggage, a lot of negative energy that's been stored in your body, that's been creating your reality subconsciously. So this is part of manifesting. This is manifesting. You have to have that duality. You have to not only be consciously creating your reality, but also learning to unlearn a lot of things. Deprogram a lot of things, release a lot of old energy, because we are energetic beings and our energy is constantly creating our reality. So those old pains, those old stories, those traumas, they're part of your energy field until you learn to release them, until you learn to forgive those who did you wrong, until you learn to shift the story and know that these emotions are coming up because there's an old story that has been creating your reality. There's a limiting belief. There's an old trauma. There's something that you haven't been dealing with. And through our emotions, that's how we release. And that's how we change our energy and our aura to create a new reality for ourselves. So this is part of manifesting. This is part of doing the work to consciously create your reality. And so manifesting isn't always going to look like stepping into your highest version, following a habit tracker, constantly being positive. Yes, continue to reprogram those beliefs into your mind, but don't suppress anything just because you feel like you have to be that highest version and you have to feel positive all the time. You know, I made a video the other day about how to shift your relationships, and I said to write down every single limiting belief you have. And someone commented saying, I'm scared to do that because I'm scared that it's going to manifest. Those limiting beliefs are going to manifest. But it's actually the opposite. If you try to suppress these beliefs, if you try to force yourself to not think them, to not deal with them, then you're manifesting that as your reality. Because the more you suppress something, the more it's going to try to come out, and you actually will manifest those negative things that you didn't want to manifest. Because you're suppressing it, you're refusing to look at it, but it doesn't mean that that belief doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that that belief isn't creating your reality, because most likely it's subconscious, and our subconscious beliefs create our reality 95% of the time. So by not looking at them, you're reinforcing that belief. You're allowing it to stay, when actually part of the manifestation process is bringing these beliefs up to the surface so that you can look at them and then release them. Because when we're not aware of something, it's creating our reality on autopilot. It's the moment that we become aware and the moment that we decide that we don't want to feed into this negative thing anymore, we want to process it, we want to release it, that's when our life is going to change. That's when we're going to change the story for ourselves. So this work in itself is manifesting. It's part of the manifestation process. Manifestation and spirituality is not all love and light. No, you have to face your darkness in order to get to the light, in order to experience all of those surreal things that you want to experience. Because we are not meant to constantly be high vibrational. We are not meant to be constantly on high. What goes up must come down. So this is what true spirituality is. This is what true manifestation is. We need that duality. We need to feel our darkness as much as we need to be embodying the light and stepping into that version of us who we want to be, who we want to embody. So just allow these things to come up and know that on the other side of that, it's so much better. On the other side of that is everything that you've been calling in. The biggest breakthrough of my own life happened right after the biggest breakdown, where I was dealing with years of unprocessed traumas, years of old stories, years of limiting beliefs that had just been built up, and they were all coming out all at once. I was purging all of these things so that I could step onto a new timeline, a new chapter of my life. And that's when I started my solo travel journey. That's where I experienced some of the most beautiful moments of my life. It was after deciding that I didn't want to live that reality anymore, that I didn't want to continue being numb, because that's how I felt in my life. I was just working a job I hated. I was just surviving life. I was pushing down all of my negative emotions because I just wanted to escape them. I just did not want to look at them. And because of that, I continued to be stuck. I continued to feel like I wasn't moving forward in life. I felt like everybody else was moving forward in their life and I was just staying stuck. And it wasn't until I decided that I was going to allow these things to come up and I was going to purge them because I wanted more for my life, that things started to radically change in my life. I made the biggest decision of my life to just quit my job and use those savings to just travel, but that never would have happened if I didn't allow myself to feel the negative emotions, because that's really what pushed me to my breaking point, to that point in my life where I was like, this cannot go on. I cannot keep living this same reality. Something needs to change. And because I had all of that pain, all of those negative emotions, that's what pushed me to make that jump, that leap of faith. And this is part of your feminine energy, or the dark feminine. It's not allowing those negative emotions to sit inside of you, but instead using them to fuel your life, to fuel your manifestations, because it's those darker emotions that fuels things in our life. Because those negative emotions, they're actually more powerful than our positive emotions. If we were just happy all the time, most likely things wouldn't change in our life. We wouldn't grow, we wouldn't evolve. So it's those negative emotions that push us to make art, to create, to change our life, to push us into that next version of us. So it's really a blessing to have these negative emotions. It's really a blessing when the universe comes in and shakes things up in your life, because once you get to a certain point in your spiritual journey, sometimes the universe won't even do this. Sometimes the universe wants you to shake things up for yourself. The universe wants you to break up with that boyfriend, quit that job, because the universe knows that you are capable of making those hard decisions that will ultimately benefit your life. But if you are in the phase where the universe is doing this for you, the universe is pushing you so that you can process something in your life, well, that is a blessing, because it's better than just living a numb experience. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just going off on another little tangent. Again, channeled message, but that's what wanted to come through. And I think that kind of wraps up today's episode. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I just got out a lot of things that I needed to get out for myself as well. And I needed to share it because I know that somebody else is going through it right now as well. And I really think there's like a weird collective energy right now that I'm picking up on. And I think it's just pushing all of us into our next level. I think that there's something going on. The universe wants people to wake up. The universe wants people to step into their full mission. You know, me, myself, maybe I've been holding back a little bit. So yeah, that's what we're working with right now. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I love you so much. And yeah, I will see you in my next podcast or on Instagram or TikTok.